I think those in the audience today are interested in all the things that you have to go through to put a weathercast on the air. What kind of content considerations and time pressures and other things are on your mind when you're putting the weather together?
We are dealing with limited time. However, when it comes to ozone and air quality, you have to also keep in mind that during the summer months, there really isn't a lot going on. I mean, granted, we have time to tell people that it's going to be 100 degrees the next day or 105 or whatever it might be. But whatever it is that's the most important thing, we make time for.
Latest picture of our ozone movie showing you the reason why a health advisory has been issued out toward Rockland, Roseville, just to the west of Folsom, Slough House, North Highlands. That is the area you're seeing there in red and orange just to the north and east of Sacramento. But notice Yuba City, Woodland, Davis, not doing so bad. The worst of the ozone pooling along the eastern end of the valley and along the western flank of the foothills. We have that health advisory posted for areas including Roseville, Rockland, Folsom, North Highlands, and Slough House. Through about 6:30 this evening, you're asked to reduce your outdoor activity through the next couple of hours with those unhealthy air levels for ground level ozone. Good news tomorrow, though, ozone-wise, as things will not be a spare the air day, but still unhealthy for sensitive groups in Sacramento, Stockton, and Modesto. The reason why, our temperatures will start to cool off, and we'll see a delta breeze scour out some of that ground level ozone out there.
Let's say if the ozone is very bad and we have a health advisory in effect, I'll talk with our producers and we will make time. I don't think time is really an issue when there's something that's vitally important. You always want the most accurate and most up-to-date information you have. The broadcasts that I do are at 4:35, 6, and 6:30 during the late afternoon and early evening. And if we have an area that has very high ozone and perhaps a health advisory is going up, and we need to alert somebody about that, we want to alert them that it's happening right now, not that a couple of hours ago you had high ozone. That doesn't do anybody any good. We want to be able to alert people as to what's going on, where they are, and what they should do about it. Telling them what did happen really is, I don't want to say it defeats the purpose. It's interesting, but it doesn't do people a lot of good.
And this is today's ozone movie, and I'll tell you right now, we are getting an area of unhealthy air. That's an AQI in excess of 150, indicated by a red area that's going to be pretty small to see, but it is centered over the Folsom area, basically over Folsom Lake. So that would mean that towns like Folsom and Granite Bay, El Dorado Hills, and even on up toward Cool are experiencing unhealthy levels of ozone right now, and that will last probably for about another hour or so. So if you have respiratory problems and you're in those communities I mentioned or in that area, you may want to stay inside for the next couple of hours until the ozone begins to dissipate.
This is all the way out to Davis, up toward the foothills, and even some red around Rockland and Folsom. For this reason, tomorrow we'll probably see a similar pattern with the worst of the ozone picking up between 3, 4, and 5 o'clock tomorrow. Spare the air day for tomorrow. Sacramento up to 150 on the AQI index.
What kind of viewer reaction have you received to the air quality information on Channel 3?
I've received some very positive feedback, and it's been interesting how it has evolved. There are a number of weather parameters that have been, I should say, tried out over the last 10 years. The one that comes to mind is the UV index. A lot of people really tried to trumpet that, and I don't think that really caught on with the viewers. I think they kind of thought, it's a sunny day. I know if I stay out all day, I'm going to get sunburned. And so that really didn't take root. And the ozone readings were very similar 7, 8 years ago, when all we would do is tell people that we're going to have a PSI at that time of 100 or 150, whatever that is. What does that mean? They can't see the ozone. Perhaps they can see that it's a smoggy day, but a PSI of 150 really didn't mean anything. The PSI numbers, we have a forecast number of 113 tomorrow that is in the unhealthy range, and it will be our first spare the air day tomorrow. It's the first day of the season. Also forecasting a PSI tomorrow for Stockton of 100. And we're going to see how long this heat wave goes on in just a little bit. I'll have the full forecast coming up at the end of the program. When the AQI mapping, the ozone mapping started, people were able to actually see it, and we are actually able to better explain to people where it was happening, when it was happening, you see how it evolved through the day. And we've had some very interesting feedback because people finally get it. People understand it. And so not only do people appreciate the fact that we're doing it, but sometimes during the afternoon, we'll get a lot more phone calls now from people saying, I run a daycare center. Is it one of those days where I should have the kids outside or shouldn't have the kids outside? That sort of thing. And when you start getting feedback like that, you get the idea that people understand what it is you're talking about.
Mark, EPA is looking at year-round forecasting now to include particulates, fine particles, and I'm wondering from your perspective how useful a product like that might be to integrate into weather forecasts throughout the year.
Any sort of product that anybody comes up with has to be understandable, and it has to be pertinent to people. If people have problems with particulate matter and they understand that they have problems with particulate matter from high concentrations of it, then they would be interested in knowing where it is and when it's going to be high and that sort of thing. But if it doesn't mean anything to anybody, or if it's not easy to understand, then it'll go right over their heads and they'll ignore it.
A line of thunder showers come through this afternoon, and it really steamed things up.
I was going to say, you know, a lot of people talk about, oh, it'd be great to have some thunderstorms to give us some cooling relief. Well, it cools you off, but all it does, as you said, is steam you up, and all that water has to evaporate back into the air, hence higher dew points and greater discomfort. Let's go ahead and take a look at how the air quality was across the area today. This data courtesy of the EPA. Start off at 8 this morning, and we move it on toward the noontime hour. A little bit of yellow beginning to show up just northeast of Charlotte, and if you look real closely, you might just be able to see the green beginning to turn to yellow in Wake County. Then, as we head toward 4 o'clock this afternoon, we actually start to pick up a fair amount of orange after the thunderstorms go by, and we start to have the sun come back out and heat things back up. Interestingly enough, in southwest Wake County at the same time, it was in the green category. And then we take it up toward the evening time, we lose the heat of the day, and the air quality gradually begins to improve. And of course, by now, I'm sure that all those orange and yellow areas are completely gone.
Hi, I'm Rich Marriott from the King 5 Weather Center. As you might know, a growing number of us are seriously affected by our air quality. So here at King 5, we've added an exclusive new feature, our First Alert Air Quality Forecast. Region by region, we'll show you how the level of pollutants and irritants will affect your day. So check the First Alert Air Quality Forecast on King 5 News and King5.com, because sometimes quality of air means quality of life.
Brought to you by the Puget Sound Clean Air Agency.
And when the thermometer climbs to the levels that it has in the east, the danger isn't just from the heat, it's from the ozone as well. High in the atmosphere, ozone protects us from the sun's rays, but on the ground, ozone produced by the interaction of sunlight, heat, and auto emissions is decidedly unhealthy. High levels, indicated by the darker colors on this map, triggered ozone alerts from North Carolina to New England today. With high temperatures predicted again tomorrow, back to work Tuesday, ozone levels are expected to be dangerous again. People with respiratory problems are encouraged to stay inside.
The time of the day, Mark, I guess, when the temperature is sort of cooking it out there and the ozone levels increase even higher.
Well, the high temperatures go hand in hand with the ozone. The higher the temperature, the higher the ozone readings are usually going to be. So here we are at the hottest part of the day, and over the next hour or so is when we're going to be seeing the worst of the ozone. Let's check the temperatures first. It's a look from our sky camera in downtown Sacramento. It's a little hazy, and it is hot. 106 right now in Sacramento, 108 in Stockton, 106 in Modesto, and 88 degrees at Lake Tahoe. Well, let's show you where the ozone is getting bad. We'll start out this morning when all the areas are green. The air quality very good in the morning hours. Then you can see it goes to moderate, and then the areas of orange start to pop up, and then late this afternoon we're starting to see the areas of red. You can see it between Vacaville and Antioch, and because of that, the Air Quality Management District has just issued a health advisory for the area between Vacaville, Dixon, and Rio Vista. If you draw a little triangle, that area, the area where you're seeing the red right now, is under a health advisory between now and 6:30. Basically, the air quality we're seeing, well, in the Bay Area, it's been even worse. And some of the bad air from the Bay Area is making its way over into the valley, or so it appears this afternoon. So for that area, again, that's the Vacaville, Dixon, Rio Vista area under a health advisory until 6:30 this evening. And if you do have respiratory problems, a really good idea to stay inside between now and about 7 o'clock, especially in those areas. But we're also seeing some problems, as Tim mentioned, in the Folsom area and also areas up and down the east side of the valley.
comes to the heaviest traffic in urban areas, Sacramento ranks 15.
In Sacramento County alone, over 97,000 people, adults and children, are at risk, diagnosed with asthma, bronchitis, and emphysema.
I'm thinking, oh my goodness, you know, pretty soon it's going to be just as bad as it was in LA.
Sacramento's projected air quality for tomorrow, because of the pretty much stagnant air situation we have, is a 124, so that's unhealthy for sensitive groups.
By 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon, there were pockets of high ozone levels popping up all over Folsom and Placerville. You see them there in the red.
AQI today, 150 in Sacramento, which is unhealthy, and it is going to be the first spare the air
And
day.
air quality is forecast to be at the unhealthy level this afternoon.
Is that the emissions from cars and trucks cook in the hot summer sun and produce ozone air pollution.
A steady north wind had been dispersing much of that ozone until today.
First off, the air quality readings for today, 150. That's not a temperature, but it indicates the AQI.
And we are starting to see some of that air quality diminish.
Well, outside, this is what the haze and the smog look like from above, from Air 10. You can barely see the city.
Even though you may not feel it today, studies have shown that ozone air pollution can affect your lungs as you get older.
Air quality was poor, 150. Tomorrow's AQI forecast is 124.
The AQI forecast for today is 174 in Sacramento.
So we're asking people during the peak time to reduce their strenuous outdoor activity.
Latest picture of our ozone movie showing you the reason why a health advisory has been issued.
It's usually worse in the later afternoon hours, which is also when it's the hottest.
Sky-high ozone that's prompted a health advisory and a tenuous power supply.
The reading at this monitoring station here at Sierra College.
We have that health advisory posted for areas including Roseville, Rockland, Folsom, North Highlands, and Slough House. And another little blotch of orange has popped up just within the last half hour around Grass Valley.
It sort of pushes that ozone smog right up into the foothills, into places like Roseville and Auburn.
This is typical during summer months when we don't have a whole lot of wind and we see triple-digit temperatures.
There is a spare the air advisory, but there's also a health advisory issued until 6:30 for areas of northeast downtown Sacramento.
An unhealthy dose of smog has shrouded the region. The air quality today was 174.
The higher on the scale, the worse the air quality. The AQI forecast for tomorrow for Sacramento is 150.
The hot weather is trapping pollution over the Sacramento region, making the air unhealthy to breathe.
Try to carpool. If you can, cut down on your driving. Also, try to skip the yard work and not use the outdoor power tools.
Me and my boss, we carpool, and so I try to pick him up and take him home.
Spare the air day is in effect today, and it's also going to be in effect tomorrow.
It is another spare the air day.
Anytime we don't have enough wind and we have high pressure over us, well, we end up with high AQI, air quality readings.
It is a spare the air situation for tomorrow, so a spare the air advisory is in effect.
Pretty poor air quality through tomorrow afternoon.
Now, the worst of the air quality, again, tends to be between 3 in the afternoon and 7 o'clock in the evening.
A plume of high ozone levels stretched from Folsom into El Dorado County.
These high temps are creating bad breathing conditions as the air outside reaches the unhealthy range.
And I'll tell you right now, we are getting an area of unhealthy air. That's an AQI in excess of 150.
Traffic, smog, calm winds, and a strong inversion layer all add up to a spare the air day.
We're asking people to reduce driving. We're asking them to avoid the use of gas-powered yard tools.
And that is excess of 150 on the AQI scale.
But we are dropping a little bit in the Sacramento metropolitan area.
And until the wind changes direction, we're going to be dealing with this smoke. And you can see as we progress through the day, this is about 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock.
The problem we have in the Sacramento region is ground-level ozone. It's colorless, odorless, and our worst pollutant during the summertime.
The AQI that we always look at for our air pollution is just fine, because that's just measuring ozone. What we have out there tonight is particulate matter. In other words, the stuff that kind of floats around that you can actually see.
Regional Transit offering passengers some free rides in an effort to clean up the valley air quality.
So to try and clear the air today, RT announced a new program offering free rides. If you would like free tickets to ride Regional Transit, valid only on days when it's deemed spare the air day.
Bus and light rail riders can ride free on any spare the air day this summer. Today has been declared a spare the air day across the Sacramento region.
The air quality index could reach 174 today.
It is a spare the air day today. Do expect to see those amounts of ozone up late afternoon, early evening.
That means you are encouraged to carpool, ride a bus, or cut down on air emissions any way you can.
Until August 31st, RT is giving away 20,000 packets. Inside 10 free tickets for Regional Transit.
Now, both today and tomorrow are spare the air days.
It's a spare the air advisory, so take advantage of the RT today if you have those special passes.
They also are asking motorists to reduce driving if possible and avoid the use of gasoline-powered yard tools.
Ozone occurs naturally in the atmosphere, but when it gets hotter, the ozone levels go up. And that is a big concern for a lot of people when we start getting those hot days. It's interesting, you can track these little areas almost like it's on Doppler radar, and we color it the same way. Green is fine, but yellow and orange, not so good. The ozone levels really start to spike up in the mid to late afternoon, and we'll show people where we're having the highest concentrations of ozone on the air, especially during our 5 and 6 o'clock news.
Mark Finan, AMS meteorologist on KCRA3.
Let's talk about the air quality issue first up here, because today the air quality was considerably worse than originally anticipated. This is some data from EPA for the 3 to 4 o'clock period today, and you can see the solid orange all the way from Wake County down to the middle part of Sampson County. And there were actually some borderline orange reds in there as well in eastern Wake and Johnston County that simply covered too small of an area for it to show up on this particular map. But seeing as how the conditions tomorrow should be very similar, high temperatures, very light winds, not a lot of mixing, it would appear that tomorrow is going to be another difficult day in that regard. As a result, it has been designated as a code red ozone action day.
Every minute of the day, pollutants spew into the air, creating ozone problems. Wednesday was the worst air quality day of the year. The Triangle doesn't have the worst air in the state, but it's close.
Well, Charlotte ranks #1 in the state for air quality problems. There's no debate about that. Raleigh and the Triangle comes in a close second.
Overall, Bridger says North Carolina's air isn't that bad when you compare it to bigger cities in the southeast like Atlanta. But he says it wouldn't take much for that to change.
But we're in a region that's rapidly growing, and we're seeing the type of growth now that Atlanta saw 10 years ago. And so we've got to be careful to take steps now so we're not the next Atlanta in air quality.
During high ozone days, people who are sensitive to ozone are cautioned to limit outside activity. But what kind of long-term effect does the ozone have on everyone else?
The data suggests that there probably is an effect, but we need, researchers always say this, but we need more studies to get a better handle on exactly what the risk might be.
Dr. Peden says as long as code red alerts don't become a daily occurrence, Triangle residents can breathe easier.
If we were going to have lots and lots and lots of those days, that would be a problem. The intermittent day here and there, I don't know, is as big a problem.
Linda Loveland, WRAL TV5 News, Wake County.
Now, if it turns out that there are a lot of high ozone days at the end of the year, the state could lose some federal funding because of a violation of national air quality standards.
Again, the triple whammy, I guess, with the high temperatures, the high humidities, and the air quality issue. So I have to deal with all three of those tomorrow. Let's first alert you to the fact that the Division of Air Quality has designated tomorrow as a code red ozone day. That means the air will be generally unhealthful. Now, does that mean that you need to cave yourself up in your house and never go out the entire day? No, but it does suggest, especially if you have respiratory problems, that you don't want to spend a whole lot of time outside tomorrow, and it wouldn't be a good idea for anybody to really exert themselves for long periods of time tomorrow. So just take it easy as we get through this worst of this current heat spell.
Hi, I'm Allison Davis with EPA's Office of Air Quality Planning and Standards. I'm here today with Lynn Perry, USA Today's Deputy Managing Editor for Graphics and Photography. Lynn's coming to us by video because she will be in Salt Lake City at the Olympics during this conference. Tell us a little bit about how you first got interested in the AQI.
Well, at the newspaper, we're always looking for ways to improve the quality and give people who seem to be more sophisticated than ever about what they want from the weather and their weather knowledge, to give them new information. And it occurred to me that something that I was seeing regionally on television and in local newspapers was information about air quality and pollution levels and other information about sun damage, and just kind of not necessarily directly related to the weather information, but good information that people could use. And so that's when I began exploring with the American Lung Association some ideas for giving people information that would help them in their daily lives on the weather page, and that led me to the EPA and you and Chet Wayland and others who helped us put together what's turned into a wonderful partnership.
Can you take a minute and show us the page?
Sure. I don't have a prototype yet for this coming season, which will feature a little bit of a different look on the weather page, but here's one from last summer that will show you information about the air quality index and what we mean by good, moderate, or unhealthy, or very unhealthy. And then under each of our select number of cities across the country, such as Chicago, we'll have a forecast along with the label AQI and the whatever that forecast is for that day. So we have 36 cities highlighted here. I know you have available more to us even online. And down the road, we'd like to move to being able to highlight more cities more often and possibly go year-round. I know EPA has talked about whether that's possible because of training and funding, but we would love to educate and help educate people as to what the air quality information is in their community and what it means.
That's terrific. Tell me a little bit more about the partnership with the Weather Channel. How did that come about?
Well, the Weather Channel partnership in some ways was similar to the EPA partnership. We were looking to improve the quality of the information on our weather page. Our weather page runs on the back of the A section in the 4-section newspaper every day, and it's become a signature page for us. We know teachers use it. We know a lot of people turn to it after the front page to see not only what the weather is in their community, but where their in-laws live or their parents, something like that. So we know people use it, and we feel like we have a unique product, but we have to keep up with what's available out there. So the Weather Channel is going to work with us both on research and the most up-to-date forecasting we can get. We hope to improve and add forecast information. Instead of giving everyone a 3-day forecast for certain cities around the country, we'll move to 4- and 5-day forecasts. We'll give you information from experts that we feel are really proven in the field in the area of hurricanes, tornadoes. We'll just have a sense of a team. They're not just a vendor. They're a partner with us, much the way the EPA is a partner with us. For example, the first summer that we worked with you, we not only put in the air quality information for the select cities, but we did weather graphics. On the newspaper page, we have a spot every day we reserve for a weather graphic feature. We did weather graphics on what is air quality and how is it measured, and why are there inversion effects in some places, and why are cities that are on the coast that you think might have beautiful clear weather with all their breezes, why do they sometimes have a reverse effect come in? What time of day is ozone or other particle matter most intense? So we were able to work with EPA and some other forecasters around the country to come up with ideas to display information that I thought made it really accessible to people in a way that they appreciated. I can't tell you how much people care about the weather in this country. We get lots of letters. People want to know more, not less. They're familiar with some of the terms that maybe a few years ago I wouldn't have thought they would be familiar with. They know what a high pressure area is. They know what a low pressure area is. And they know what AQI is. They understand that.
Is there anything I haven't asked you about the weather page and the AQI work that you'd like to tell us?
Not so much that you haven't asked, but I would like to reinforce how popular weather information is, and that readers do seem to appreciate the detail. Where, you know, a few years ago I might have thought they were content with their daily forecast. They really do long for more information, and they use it. We hear from people with asthma, we hear from people with respiratory conditions who do read and study the information. And I do think, I know we were worried a little bit when you and I first talked a couple of years ago about whether they understood the difference between a forecast and what has actually happened. And we were very careful to always say that we're giving you a forecast. I know it's not required of the meteorologist to give a forecast. They only have to report, as I understand, the previous day's actual readings. But I think people like just having a sense of what might be happening. It's okay if it's wrong. They're actually somewhat forgiving of that too. If it turns out to be a great day, so much the better. But they want to have a heads up. And so I do think that they understand what forecasts are and that they're, you know, a best scientific estimate. And it's okay if it's not perfect. They'd rather get a sense of what's out there.
I think you hit on a really important point about the forecast, because the AQI forecasts are a tool that people can use to make decisions about their daily lives. And that's really important, whether it's planning for, you know, your kids' physical activity after school, or, you know, planning for your own run in the morning, or maybe going to the gym inside instead, depending on what the forecast is that day.
That's why I hope if eventually you move to year-round forecasting, or even extend it a little bit on either side of the summer months, that we can be involved with you as well.
Well, Lynn, thank you so much for giving us the time today. We've just been thrilled with this partnership, and we're looking forward to continuing it.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.